Hello there, welcome to the program Road to 2023. It is the first edition for the year 2023, Nigeria's highly anticipated election year. We are glad you could join us on this journey. And of course, we hope that you had a pleasant holiday. I am Imonia Marere. Glad to be here with you. It's 53 days until the presidential election in Nigeria. So much can happen within 24 hours in politics, not just in Nigeria, but indeed anywhere else around the world. Now, since our last show on Friday, which was the last for 2022, a lot of water has passed under the political bridge in Nigeria. One such occurrence is the endorsement of the presidential ticket of the Labour Party, Peter Obi and Ahmed Dati, by former President Olusegun Obasanjo for the 2023 presidential election, which happened over the weekend. Expectedly, this has somewhat raised the political temperature, or should I say, the stakes for the 2023 elections. Reactions to the New Year Day open letter by former President Obasanjo has been widespread and may have cut deep into the confidence level of some candidates and their parties in this election. As expected, reactions continue to trade the letter considered toxic by leading contenders to the exalted presidential seat. Now, while some have taken it with a pinch of salt, those favored by it are celebrating and gloating over it. Some others have also been asking, what is Obasanjo's endorsement of anyone really worth politically in terms of political value? Can his backing or disapproval swing a major election in any which way? Does he have any such electoral track records? Well, let's have you some of the reactions to Obasanjo's letter.
Arguably, he's one of the most powerful political figures in Nigeria. For him to make such a statement when he is above 80 years, you can see that it came with a lot of introspection. Because at that age, according to J. Clark, or Edwin Clark, the nonagenarian, he said at that age, you have gotten your boarding pass. So there is really nothing that you are looking forward to when you are a statesman except the beauty, the progress of your country. And we can see the beauty of Obasanjo's endorsement on his reasons for the endorsement, which he espoused in the acronym TVCP, track record of ability and performance, looking at the past, antecedent, then vision that is authentic, reliable, and visionary, looking at the future. Then character and abilities of a child of God and obedience to God, looking at integrity, and then physical and mental capabilities with soundness of mind, looking at your physical energy and mental alertness required for the office of the presidency. He considered all these, and obviously and apparently Atiku and Tinubu do not fit into these four factors, if you must be honest, because all of them are octogenarians, lacking in physical energy and mental alertness. And that is why after seeing Tinubu sharing questions and Atiku shifting questions and Obi answering questions, he narrowed it down to the fact that Obi should be the preferred candidate for the benefit of Nigerians, for the future generation. And Obi has actually espoused that hope. If you read his New Year message to Nigerians, he said, Dati and I will create a new Nigeria that will ensure the prosperity, the peace, the unity of this country, trusting by the grace of God in their character, competence, and capacity to deliver a Nigeria that will empower the youths, the young ones in education, that will transfer Nigeria and transform Nigeria from consumption to production.
And the endorsement of Obasanjo is actually a minus to anybody in this country. From the result of the last election in 2019, you can see how Obasanjo lost his polling units woefully to opposition party. So the endorsement of Obasanjo is not anything anybody should celebrate. Actually, it's actually a political minus.
I'm not a member of the establishment, I represent a fresh, start for this country.
Well, reactions there to the endorsement of Obi Dati by the other political parties and, in fact, by the Labour Party itself. Now, in the final analysis, the decision on who to elect will, of course, rest with the electorate. But how do the people get the job done if they deny themselves the instrument of carrying out their civic duties? There have been reports of apathy by prospective voters in the collection of their permanent voters' cards, just as there are widespread complaints of poor organization by INEC officials responsible for the distribution of the PVCs in various places across the country. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, commenced the distribution of PVCs on Monday, December 12, 2022, and to run until Sunday, January 22, 2023. And this is happening in all the 774 local government offices of the Commission across the Federation. The Commission also announced that it will devolve the PVCs collection to the 8,809 registration areas or wards between Friday, January 6 and Sunday, January 15, 2023. Thereafter, the exercise will revert to the 774 local government offices of the Commission until January 22nd, 2023. Now, counting from today, there are only 19 days left for the conclusion of the exercise. So far, the exercise has been characterized by disinterest and indifference by some potential voters. At least, that is what the statistics in the public domain is suggesting. For instance, about 3.5 million PVCs are said to be lying idle with INEC in the southwest geopolitical zone. Lagos State alone accounts for 1.7 million uncollected PVCs. The South-South geopolitical zone is recording about 1.3 million uncollected PVCs. The story is not different in other geopolitical zones, but with relative improvement when compared with other regions. Now, what could be responsible for this lukewarm attitude or apathy by persons who enthusiastically trooped out to register during the last exercise? In fact, we recall that there was a clamor at a point for INEC to extend the period for the registration exercise to allow more people participate. Did INEC not raise enough awareness about the collection process? Can it be a protest on the part of the people? We shall take you around some states of Nigeria as we speak with our correspondents on factors that could be responsible for the unhealthy scenario. We shall also have a guest in the studio to look at this issue. But for now, let's move to Bauchi State, where there is an uneasy calm in the political terrain following the rather tough competition for the governorship seat amid allegations of a plot to manipulate the bimodal voter accreditation system, otherwise known as BVAS. The bimodal voter accreditation system is an electronic device designed to read a permanent voter's card and authenticate voters using the voter's fingerprint and facial recognition. It is also designed to upload results electronically from polling units. But we hear that tempers are also rising in Bauchi State over allegations of non-performance and political violence. We have a guest in the studio who will throw more light on the situation after our regular segment on political tidbits. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Political Tidbits. I am Rafiat Sadiq. We just got a report that the Benue State Governor, Samuel Ortom, has taken sides with the former President Olusegun Obasanjo regarding his endorsement of Peter Obi as the right candidate to win this year's presidential election and provide the leadership Nigeria desires. A statement by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Teve Akase, stated that if the governor were not a member of the People's Democratic Party, he would have personally led Obi's campaign across the country. Ortom is a member of the G5 group of the PDP governors that have vowed never to support PDP's candidate, Atiku Abubakar. Though the group met in London last week in endorsing either Obi or Bola Tinubu as their candidate due to individual political exigency. Report also just coming in says elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark has also endorsed Labour Party candidate Peter Obi. The visit of the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, to internally displaced persons camp in Wassa community of the Federal Capital Territory, where he reaffirmed his commitment to the introduction of initiative that will tackle the nation's security challenges. According to Obi, his priority when voted into power in February 25 presidential election will be to return displaced families to their homes.
No medical care, no school, no water. There's nothing difficult in providing water here. It must start being a place where a society that cares for its poor, a society that cares for the less privileged people, a society that cares for downtrodden, a society that must care for the mothers, for the children, for everybody, so they can live in a better society. Security is our number one priority. Security of life and property. And we will deal with it decisively. The more you put people out of poverty, the more you help to fight insecurity. Even in this place they can be productive. Government can support them genuinely to do something.
From FCT to Kaduna State, precisely southern Kaduna, where the coalition of Obi supporters have dumped the senatorial candidate for Zone 3, comprising of southern Kaduna, Michael Auda, Marshal Kaltung. The Labour Party presidential and the governorship candidates will still enjoy their support.
As members of the Labour Party, it is permanent at this point to tell the world that we will not be voting for the senatorial candidate of the party or be involved in any activities geared towards galvanizing support for his election. Instead, we have unanimously agreed to endorse the candidature of the People Democratic Party Barrister Sunday Marshal Kaltung. We cannot in good conscience support the senatorial candidate of our party given his record of serial betrayal and and untrustworthiness. Meanwhile, the endorsement of the PDP candidate does not in any way invalidate our resolve to work for the success of the presidential candidate, Peter Obi. We are going to work for Peter Obi and the gubernatorial candidate, Honorable Asake.
From Kaduna, we move to Kano, where the caretaker committee of the People's Democratic Party has accused the former chairman of dissolving the state executive, Shehu Shagagi, of flouting court order by parading himself as the caretaker chairman. Kano PDP caretaker committee secretary, Bala Aliyu, disclosed these when briefing newsmen on current development. In Kano State chapter of PDP,
Court of Appeal set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court, reinstated the power of the National Working Committee to dissolve its state chapter as provided in the constitution of the party when the need arises. Now, what is the effect of that Court of Appeal judgment? Is that gave rise to the appointment of the current caretaker committee. How can a responsible citizen flout a valid judgment of the Court of Appeal?
And still in Kano State, a 1 million man march was organized for the All Progressive Congress candidate, the Nasarawa local government area, over the weekend. Chairman of the Nasarawa local government area, Awal Lawan, said the march was organized to create awareness on the need to vote APC in all elections come February and March 2023.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he came with all his structures, with all his resources, and supported our own Muhammadu Buhari and became the president. So this time around, we know this is a time we have to pay him back. That's why we started this grassroots movement for us to pay him back for what he did to us back 2015.
This TGG you are seeing is an organization developed by Chairman of the local government in order to support and mobilize people, our electorate, to come out en masse to support Tinubu, Gawuna, and all other APC candidates in the forthcoming general election.
And finally, the Tinubu Support Network has described the Muslim ticket of the party as a good omen that will put to rest religious sentiment in the consideration of leadership in the country. Chairman of the Tinubu Support Network, Keilani Mohammed, says the scenario has put forward a possibility of Christian leadership in the future. He noted that the focus should be on competency rather than religious sentiments.
Nigerians should understand that the manifestation of this ticket has given us hope, such that very soon, in the near future, there is going to be a Christian ticket. Once we arrive in that stage, we can be assured that time of religious distrust in Nigeria is gone forever, and that those political job seekers that feed on religious politics will become jobless.
Well, there you can see that the holiday, that is the Yuletide holiday, was not a barrier to politicking. Politicians were doing their own thing even during the holidays. Now, we told you earlier about an alarm raised by the Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed over an alleged plot to manipulate BVAS machines during the forthcoming election. Is the alarm genuine or is it politically motivated? Beyond that, what is the true state of politics in Bauchi State today? Well, I'm joined in the studio now by Ambassador Sadiq Baba Abubakar, a retired Air Marshal, former Chief of Air Staff, and Nigeria's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to the Republic of Chad. He is also the APC governorship candidate in Bauchi State for the 2023 elections. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for finding time to join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
No, thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us, you were in the military almost all your working life, and then suddenly you have shown interest in partisan politics. Apart from the fact that you are Nigeria's ambassador plenipotentiary to Chad and to some other countries. What is the motivation?
Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers. First and foremost, I think what is important is how an individual adds value to the society. I have been in the military, like you said. I've been in the Air Force for 42 years. I joined the service in 1979 and left in 2021. So that is the military life. And while in the military, I have tried to address fundamental issues affecting society, which is security. Particularly when I was the chief of the air staff from 2015 to 2021. I was one of those that was really in the forefront of trying to secure Nigeria and make sure that Nigerians can pursue their legitimate aspirations without any fear. At the time when Boko Haram was virtually everywhere, Abuja was bombed a number of times, Kaduna was bombed, the Central Mosque in Kano was bombed, so we came in at a very terrible time. I want to thank the President and Commander-in-Chief for giving us the enabling environment to really operate and to substantially deal with that problem at that time. Having left the service, I came out with an understanding that, look, the issue of security is not just about bullets and bombs. It's about addressing the fundamental issues of development, especially at the state and the local government levels. So after leaving the service, my people came to me. A number of delegations came in from Bauchi, urging me to really come and participate and add value to what is going on in Bauchi State. And I realized, I looked at the statistics in Bauchi. In terms of out-of-school children, we have 1.4 million out-of-school children that have no hope of going to school. I looked at the net attendance in our schools, only 29.9%. The national average is 68%. And all the statistics available showed clearly that Bauchi was really in a very, very bad shape. And I took the decision finally that, look, why don't you go in there and add value to what is on ground, use your experience, your physical fitness, your mental alertness, and all that you have gathered over the years to see how you can add value to our people. I was lucky, like so many others, including my elder brother, who is the governor there, to have benefited from a functional educational system where everything was there. We were, in fact, as a matter of fact, we were given pocket money every end of the month. But now you have a situation where our schools, in fact, we don't have schools because most of the infrastructure you see there are not the kind of infrastructure that will generate the kind of people that will bring about the required development that we want. So I took the decision that, look, go in there and then try your best and try to see how we can add value. And I'm sure by the special grace of God, we'll be able to change the narratives in Bauchi and make Bauchi, because if you look at the statistics, like I said, we are at the bottom in everything. Infant mortality, we are low. In the talk of maternal mortality, our situation is really horrible. If you look at youth empowerment, no, there's no program that is on ground to really address this. So these are the fundamental issues that generate insecurity, which I had the privilege of fighting as the chief of the air staff for at least 5.5 years.
Anyone listening to you will say, oh, this is the usual sweet talk from aspiring office seekers, from politicians. Yeah. Why should the people believe you? Why should they entrust you with the position that you are seeking?
Well, by the special grace of God, my records are there. I have been, I was the chief of the air staff from 2015 to 2021. And I address a lot of problems that people, I'm sure, are very aware all over the nation. We increased our visibility status of our aircraft from 35.5 to 87%. We trained over 153 pilots. You know, we brought in the first female combat pilot that is now flying, and we train additional 8 women, some of whom are still, they are trying, I mean, you know, they are flying in various units. Apart from that, in terms of capacity building, we train quite a number of personnel, both within and outside Nigeria. So my records are very clear. In terms of the structure of the Air Force itself, we expanded it. We created 2 additional commands, created over 17 units in order to bring security closer to the people. We established reference hospitals in Bauchi, in Daura, upgraded the one in Port Harcourt, all to add value to you know, what I met on ground. So my records are very clear, and I think people should be able to judge me by that. And I'm sure, like I said, we are definitely going to change the narratives in Bauchi come May 2020.
You're talking about changing narratives in Bauchi. There are a lot of concerns have been expressed about the nature of politics in Bauchi as we move towards the 2023 elections, which is, by the way, about a month and a half away, so to say. There have been some level of violence, and there have also not been too friendly conversations between and amongst politicians in Bauchi State. How have you been able to weather through this process?
I think this is just a clear indication of how unsettled some politicians are, because they are clearly seeing that the APC is going to change the situation in Bauchi. We are going to make sure that we unlock those school doors that have been locked. We are working, certainly when we get in there, we'll make sure that the 1.4 million out-of-school children are back in school. The attendance, net attendance of 29% is going to be raised. We are going to address youth unemployment, empower youth so that they can be on their own and get the skills required, to be able to support themselves, support their families, and support the state and indeed the nation. So these are issues that are making some of the politicians to really get unsettled, because they know that the game will soon be over. We will not sit down there and allow what is currently happening, a situation where workers are not paid salary for months. I retired from the Nigerian Air Force in January 2021. I've been collecting all my entitlements on monthly basis. But you have workers that are in Bauchi there. They go to work every day. At the end of the month, nobody pays them anything. This is how bad the situation is. And I said, as a retired general who has seen it substantially all in most of the areas that I have been, I have seen the effect of touching on lives of personnel. I just gave you the statistics about serviceability status of aircraft. What changed is serviceability from 35 to 87%. It's addressing, looking at the human being. The human being is the most important resource that God has endowed this world with. So if you address the problems of those who are really taking care of this aircraft, you'll find that there will be changes. And exactly that was what happened. So whatever you are seeing in Bauchi is just a reaction of people who are really seeing that very soon the game will be over. We will make sure that we have APC from top to bottom, and we'll make sure that we empower our youths. We'll make sure that we get children back to school. We'll make sure that we give palliatives to women. Women are very, very critical to what is happening in our society. But unfortunately in Bauchi, there is no structure on ground that is there to really address the needs of women.
In the face of the very harsh economic situation in the country today, and the IMF has also predicted that a third of the world, of countries in the world, may be going into recession in 2023. Where do you hope to get the resources to pursue all of these things that we are talking about?
Okay, yes, it's true. We have a lot of economic issues globally. But what I can tell you is that if you plug where these resources are taken away, you will have enough resources to do what you want to do. That is one. Secondly, we want to see how we can revamp agriculture. Bauchi is a state that you can produce what the state requires, not only what the state requires, but we can produce for the whole of the Northeast. We have river basins. We have programs that if they are really genuinely implemented, then certainly agriculture will generate a lot of economic activity, which will in turn give us resources. We also have over 100 solid mineral resources that have not been exploited. They are just there. Only few individuals get 1 or 2 people from outside to come and exploit these resources and then use it for their own benefits as against the benefits of society. So I think there will be no problem. I believe, yes, you can never get all the resources you require, but you can make the best out of what is available. And I can tell you that if we use the best out of what is available, we'll be able to address most of these fundamental issues that I highlighted.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Sadiq Baba Abubakar is a retired Air Marshall, former Chief of the Air Staff and Nigeria's Ambassador Extraordinaire and Plenipotentiary to Chad. And he is also the governorship candidate of the APC in Bauchi State for the 2023 elections. We look forward to speaking with you again before the elections and see how well the campaigns are going.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We will now shift our attention to the collection of PVCs in different parts of the country, in different states of the country. We did tell you there is some level of apathy, and there are also complaints by prospective voters that the INEC officials have not been too well organized in the various places where they have gone to collect their PVCs. Now, we shall be going over in a short moment to our correspondents in the various states to see how that is panning out. Stay with us. We'll be back in a short while. All right, let's begin from Kaduna in Kaduna State, where our correspondent Abimaje Moses is standing by to tell us the situation with the collection of PVCs in that part of the country. Abimaje Moses, very happy New Year to you. What is the situation in Kaduna State? Abimaje Moses, are you with us? If Abimaje Moses is not ready, let's switch over to Lagos, where Obinna Ume is standing by. Lagos has is one place where it is said that over 1 million prospective voters are yet to collect their PVCs. Obinna Ume, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Please go straight to the point. What is the situation with the collection of PVCs in Lagos State as at today?
As we speak, out of the over 7 million registrants being received from the INEC office in Abuja, 7 million, Lagos State told the INEC told me today that 5.816 million registrants have actually received their PVCs, leaving a deficit of around 1.6. And it's quite frightening to have this figure of 1.6 voters not coming to collect their PVCs. And you know, using the voter apathy, which most voters don't do, 1.6 million votes can swing the direction to any area. But from what I have so far, INEC is telling us that they've intensified their efforts by making sure that at least 14,000 PVCs have been distributed across the local governments on each day now, based on the understanding that they have, believing that before the election comes, we have at least nothing less than 20,000 or lower not getting their PVCs. But they've told me they've intensified their effort, they've understood what is going on, and they are actually engaging the CSOs, engaging others to make sure that sensitizing the population to make sure that they get their PVCs.
Now, Obinna, before now, there were complaints by prospective voters who went to the collection centers. There were complaints by them that they were unable to get their PVCs because INEC officials said that they were not ready at the time. But now, reverse is the case. INEC is now complaining that people are not coming out to pick up their PVCs. So which is which? Is it that there is apathy, or that the lack of organization at the beginning of the exercise on December 12th may have actually discouraged some people from going back to pick up their PVCs?
You know one thing with Nigerians, whenever we have a deadline, people don't bother to go and exercise their franchise on the first day that the curtain is being opened. They always wait towards the end. On the first time around that December, you saw some people coming over to pick their PVCs, but what they met on ground was quite disturbing. Maybe INEC was not ready for them. There were myriads of complaints from the registrants. All of them were satisfied. Mainly, if you remember in the reports we did before, where they stood for long hours under the trees, long hours without no provision for canopy for them. And secondly, most of these voter party can think of, from my own experience, I was speaking with them, you see that some of them don't even bother to say, after all, the election has been decided, whatever it is, whoever wins or that. But there's a need to make sure that more Nigerians, especially the youth now that are actually been staying up, come forward to vote.
All right, Obinna, thank you so much for your time. We have joining us in the studio at this point in time, Mr. Oluwafemi Lawson, who is the co-convener, Coalition for Peace and Good Governance. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwafemi, for joining us. This development at the beginning, that was on December 12, 13, 14, the complaint was that INEC was not ready with the PVCs. Now, it appears that it is the people who are not ready to go and collect their PVCs. Is it as a result of the festive period, or what is it? Because from today till 22nd, it's just 19 days away.
Yeah, you're very correct. You see, there is always this tendency for Nigerians to buy time whenever things like this are to be done. You recall during the voters registration exercise, a lot of people waited till the deadline before, and that was what necessitated the call for the extension of the registration period. A lot of people would not be found, when the time, commences. And this distribution, just like you rightly alluded, also had run into a festive period. A lot of people have to travel from their places of residence, possibly to their home states, like we're currently experiencing. Even in Lagos today, a lot of people are out of Lagos, and that is why you could see the no usual traffic culture. And so I think the holiday has contributed to it, but the culture of our people also should also be noted.
Last
that
minute rush.
A lot of our people will wait till 20th, 21st, 22nd.
And then there will be a rush.
So I think it's not the first time we are seeing this. And it's also important that we understand that at no time do you find everyone who have registered to vote getting their cards to vote. A lot of people are registered to vote for the purpose of owning the card, maybe for other official uses. Sometimes some people think it is necessary to use in the bank when they want to register their children in school and some other funny reasons. But objectively, the turnout of people, particularly young people, who are going to be voting for the first time in this election has not been too bad, especially when you followed the distribution of the PVC across the states.
All right, let's get back to Kaduna, to Abemaje Moses. We hope that this time around we'll be able to reach him. Abemaje Moses.
You can hear me?
Let's talk about the collection, distribution and collection of PVCs in Kaduna State. What is the situation in Kaduna?
I cannot hear the studio. The line is breaking.
No, okay. I can hear you clearly myself.
Abemaje Moses, can you hear us?
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
All right.
Yes, I can
hope
hear
that
you.
we are able to resolve those technical difficulties and get back to Kaduna in a while. We also hope that our correspondents in Port Harcourt and in the southeast, southeast in Enugu, in Abakaliki, we're able to link up with them and get a feel of what the situation is like in the southeast of Nigeria. But now, looking at the situation we have on hand, 19 days to go, people are beginning to return to their usual places of abode. The expectation is that there may be, from today or from tomorrow, a rush for these PVCs. And then the INEC officials will be overstretched and overburdened. When that happens, how feasible is it for, say, in Lagos State, where there are about 1.6 million uncollected PVCs to be distributed and to be collected within the remaining 19 days.
I think INEC is prepared for this, and that is what has necessitated the plan to decentralize the PVC collection from 6th, because this will take the cards to the registration areas, the wards, where people do not need to go to the local government headquarters like we are currently having to pick up their PVC. I think it's part of the strategies designed already by INEC to ensure that more people could have access, because this is going to be meaning that more hands are going to be engaged across the wards, across the registration areas to get these PVCs distributed. But the most important thing is that the awareness must be sustained, because we must always understand that INEC is working within a guideline. Elections are just February. So we may not begin to advocate for an extension yet, because INEC is working on a guideline and there are other programs scheduled ahead of this election.
Okay.
So it is left for us to begin to encourage Nigerians to turn out more, use this opportunity, especially those that will be created within that 6 days, where these cards are going to be in your registration areas, and what to pick them up.
Okay.
It will make them easier and more accessible.
All right. Let's cross over to Umuahia, where Chidi Odina is. Chidi, thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. What is the situation in that part of the country? Year, Chidi, what's the situation in Umuahia and in Abia State generally with the collection of PVCs?
Yeah, I visited the INEC offices in Umuahia North and that of Umuahia South, a local government area around here. The story is the same, frustration on the faces of eligible voters who came to collect their PVC. The cards from my observations are available, but INEC staff who were in charge there somehow slow in the distribution exercise. As at 2 p.m., today, some who came around 7 a.m. This morning have not been able to collect their PVC. The staff said they were sorting the cards. Meanwhile, the INEC PRO who I contacted, promised that the cards will be sent to different wards, in the state for easy collection. But this is a Yuletide season, and we are surprised to see many people, turning out to collect their PVC. Just that they are frustrated that the exercise, the INEC staff are not actually treating them well, sorting the cards and then delaying those who came to collect their cards. But the turnout for the first time is high from my observation.
So it's a case of different strokes for different folks. In some places, INEC officials are complaining that people are not coming to collect, and in some places, those who have come out to collect are complaining of frustration, and the INEC officials are not able to sort their cards and give to them. But of course, we know that beginning from this week Friday, which is January 6th to the 15th, that's a period of about 10 days, these cards will be going to the wards, to the registration areas, where it will be easier to pick up. Thank you so much, Chidi Odina, for that feedback from Umuahia. Let's quickly go over now to our social media segment.
Welcome to the first episode of Politics on Social Media in the year 2023. I am Omari Ode. The immediate past governor of Osun State, Gboyega Oyetola, says God revealed to him that Bola Tinubu, the presidential flag bearer of the party APC, will emerge victorious in the forthcoming 2023 general election. Oyetola, who also predicted that he will return as governor of Osun State soon, made this known while speaking at a prayer organized by the leadership of the All Progressives Congress APC. Interesting story right there. Let's move to the comments and hear what Nigerians have to say. Our first comment is from Nezum Ada, who says, "The God that did it for you will do it for him." Interesting emoji right there. Our next comment now is coming from Ogbonna, who says, if God couldn't show you your defeat, why would he show you Tinubu's victory? And finally, concerning that story, Johnson is saying, sir, it's a big lie. God that didn't tell you that you would lose election has now come to tell you your godfather will win his election. You had better stop lying against God, sir. Okay, moving on to our next story, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has vowed to arrest parents of underage voters in the 2023 elections for electoral fraud. To save their parents from arrest and prosecution, the commission on Monday warned underage voters to stay away from all polling units during the forthcoming elections. Have always been a fan of this. Parents paying for the actions of their children and contradicting him. Our next comment is from Ade, who says, wrong approach. Are the parents responsible for the registration of the underage voters? Finally, concerning that story, our comment is coming from Elijah, who is saying, it won't work. I conducted elections in the north. INEC reps were there, nothing happened and nothing will still happen. The North are very united. That law can only work elsewhere, but not North. Let's be like the North this year. Our next comment is from Knightley, who is saying, this is grand deception. The law does not apply in northern Nigeria. Peter Obi's lawyers better obtain an order of mandamus while there's time to compel INEC to expunge child voters from the register and deactivate their PVCs. The spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party's Presidential Campaign Council, Dino Melaye, has responded to Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State over his comments on former President Olusegun Obasanjo's endorsement of Labour Party's Peter Obi for the 2023 election. Melaye knocked the Rivers State's governor, accusing him of disrespect and unwarranted insult on the former vice president, whom he said his only crime was beating Wike to the PDP presidential ticket in May 2022. Concerning that story is from Abiodun, who is saying, depleted political party trying to deceive the ignorance among us that they can defeat the formidable Tinubu-led APC government. Our next comment is coming from Ogochukwu, who is saying Nigerians made APC formidable and Nigerians can unmake APC formidable. Always remember that APC alone without Nigerian support in 2015 wouldn't have been in power. So I don't understand the formidable you mean. And finally, concerning this story, Honorable Sani Chata says, yes, Baba Dino, give it to him too. And let Nigerians understand that OBJ is not fighting for betterment of this nation. Now we understand everything about his moves. He is not in good time with Atiku and also not in good terms with Tinubu. So his only option now is Obi. Finally, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has described a slogan, Emilokon, meaning it's my turn, made by the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, as a wrong attitude and mentality to bring into leadership in Nigeria. Obasanjo said this in his New Year message titled, My Appeal to All Nigerians, particularly young Nigerians. And our first comment is from Abe, who is saying Emilokon wasn't wrong for Obasanjo when he sought a third-term election in Nigeria and lost. Our next comment is coming from Bilewu, who says, exactly my point. Emilokon is not a good leadership slogan. It speaks of selfishness, desperateness, and foolishness. Our Lokon could have been better. Our Lokon speaks of a collection of people. If we now want to pick this, the presidency should not go. And finally, Sultan is saying Emilokon is a political strategy. Obasanjo also did the same thing around 2002 Operation Do or Die affairs. Well, that's why we draw the curtains today on politics on social media. I am Omari Ode. Back to Amari for the rest of the program.
Thank you so much, Omari, for the social media segment, politics on social media. And just before we go on the program today, let's thank Oluwafemi Lawson, co-convener, Coalition for Peace and Good Governance, who has joined us here in the studio to talk about the distribution and collection of voters' cards. One last word from you.
Well, Nigerians must take advantage of the window the INEC has opened through the wards and registration areas to pick up their PVC so that we can have more participation than we've had in the past in the 2023 election.
That's a 10-day window.
Yes.
That
it's a good opportunity.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lawson. Well, we must not forget our earlier guest, Ambassador Sadiq Baba Abubakar, retired Air Marshal and Chief of the Air Staff and Nigeria's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Chad. He is also a politician. In fact, the governorship candidate of the APC in Bauchi State. He joined us here to talk about politics in Bauchi State. Thank you for your time, and once again, Happy New Year.